Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flight Lieutenant Geordie Jacobs. We warmly welcome the family of Private Frank Warren Pinkham, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome the delegation representing the Royal Military College Duntroon graduating class of 1961 reunion group. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please sit if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Frank Warren Pinkham. Frank Pinkham was born on the 3rd of July, 1879 in Adelaide, the son of Wilma and Charlotte Pinkham. He received his education in Melbourne at Cambridge Street State School. In 1907, he married Edith May Atwood, and the couple had 2 children, Warren Wilbur Vermont, born in 1908, and Olive May, born in 1913. At the outbreak of war in 1914, Frank Pinkham was working as a bricklayer in Collingwood. He enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 13th of August 1915 and was assigned to the 23rd Battalion. After a period of training, the battalion embarked from Melbourne the following year on board troopship Wiltshire. Private Pinkham arrived on the Western Front on the 3rd of August 1916 after a short stay in Egypt for further training. His first major action took place at the Battle of Mouquet Farm, following the successful capture of the village of Poitiers. The ruins of Mouquet Farm were located in a strategically important position on the ridge extending northwest from Poitiers. The cellars of the former farm had been incorporated into German defences, making it a dangerous objective for advancing troops. Here, the Australians made 9 separate attacks between the 8th of August and the 3rd of September 1916, which cost Australian divisions over 11,000 casualties. Private Pinkham survived the carnage of Mouquet Farm, but was taken ill in November, suffering from a boil on his neck, which required months of recovery in England. In February 1917, he rejoined his unit before taking part in the bloody fighting at the Second Battle of Bullecourt in May, where Australian units took over 7,000 casualties. In August, Private Pinkham was briefly granted leave, returning to the front lines in September, ahead of his battalion's next major battle at Brood-Snyder Ridge on the 4th of October. After success at Brood-Snyder, fighting continued in an attack launched at Poldcapelle on the 9th of October 1917. Heavy rains had turned the battlefield into a quagmire, making the passage of troops, guns, and ammunition nearly impossible. The conditions prevented Allied troops from holding any ground, and they were eventually driven back in a futile attack, which resulted in more than 1,200 casualties. Among the dead was Private Frank Pinkham. Initially reported missing, it was later discovered that he had been killed in action during the advance at Poldcapelle. He was last seen on the battlefield, where he had been hit in the abdomen by a machine gun bullet, which killed him almost instantly. His comrade later recalled that he saw Pinkham's body lying out in the open, where he was gasping his last breath. News of Private Pinkham's death reached his family in Australia, who posted a notice in the local newspaper. They went with the hope of returning, along with their comrades so brave, with many a hero there sleeping in a soldier's honoured grave. Private Frank Pinkham was never seen again. Today, he is remembered on the Meningate Memorial in Ypres, along with 54,000 other soldiers who have no known grave. He was 38 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, are among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Frank Warren Pinkham, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.